and we were getting well into the area, and Fred was in the middle of asking questions, and it's been responded to, health and safety. So is Nick coming back, or what's happening?
Through the chair, unfortunately he's got to attend another meeting that was 1 o'clock on the topic of COVID changes that are coming into effect from Monday, so he has a meeting. I'm here to complete his report, and I believe Janine might have some feedback. I've got a report anyway on the building matters raised by Councillor Litchwick.
Okay. Councillor Litchwick was here, it would have been more helpful. So do you want to continue on with the report? Fred just coming in now.
Just coming back now.
The meeting's underway. Andrew and Fred, we just, no worries, we just getting this health and safety report. Nick has had to take, I think, government call. So Nick, I'm sorry, Neville's standing in for him. So it's a health and safety report. We was middle of answering your questions, Fred. So you know what those questions were, Neville?
Yes, we've got those in here. I've got them, or perhaps Janine may wish to answer them, but I have been provided with some answers. So, okay, if you want, I can respond using the answers provided.
To suggest, because I'm not aware of any issues with the building in terms of noting the concerns that Councillor Litchwick has identified, that we just actually go and look with you at a point in time so that we can get assurance.
Yeah, and that's largely what the feedback is that a little bit of detail around the particular concerns that you've identified, and that they have been. I can talk to those individual ones if you like. So there are no. So, for example, they're not aware of any issues if the building was cracking. The property team are happy, as Janine has said, to meet with you and go for a walk around the building to point out exactly the concerns that you've identified this morning. They note that the beam was painted recently, so there may be some pre-existing cracks that were already there that are more visible, that weren't noted to be of a material nature. The building was signed off as compliant seismically, however they are happy to review and get that checked. The wraps around the pillars are not for strengthening. They are there to reduce damage to vehicles if they hit a pillar. The cost of a wrap is a lot less than the cost of the car repair. In terms of the sprinklers, there's no known issues, but again, they're happy to observe those with you if you go on this walk, point them out. And sprinklers are being reassessed post the flooding issues. So also I would expect issues to be picked up on that whilst that process is being undertaken. But I guess the most material point of that feedback is that they're happy to work with you to go a walk around and look closely at the matters that you raised.
Happy with that, Fred?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, but the things around the poles, no, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about structural beams that had cracked that are now got black carbon fiberglass wrapping the outside of them, some other spooky stuff, and I just go, what is that about?
I'm going to ask the acting CEO to respond.
Sorry.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Through you, I think as our directors have suggested, a walk around so you can point the matters out, then we can have a look at them and get any necessary advice. So we will schedule that as soon as we're able.
That's an action. That's an action.
As we leave the basement today, because I really got questions now, even more so than ever, because some people seem to don't know what I'm on about. Yet there's been a lot of work being undertaken by somebody, and it looks like just a band-aid applied over something that's possibly structural. Anyway.
Response? We've got a council that's genuinely got concerns in regard to the building downstairs, not just the pillars for protection of the vehicles, but in his opinion, He's not a structural engineer, but he has got eyes. But the latest don't have is put off for weeks on end, and then we have a problem. You've got to be right to raise this.
Thank you. Yeah, look, we will make it happen as soon as we can. We haven't, Janine will talk to Janine as it's her thing, and we will look to at least have those pointed out to us, and then we'll seek the necessary advice. So, none of us are structural engineers, but we have all the necessary undertakings that the building is fine, is able to be used for the purposes for which it was built. We will look into that.
Councillor Kneebone?
Thank you. Just sorry, my ignorance, we're still on the health and safety?
Yes, we are. We're talking, Chair, we're just talking in regard to Councillor Litchfield.
Yeah, no, I get that, yeah. Just to say thank you, whoever organised these, really appreciate it. But just, I was going to ask Nick, can we chuck these in the washing machine the way we did with the blue ones?
Yeah, you
Heck yeah,
can.
10 times apparently.
Yeah,
I'd want to check with somebody who's
Yes,
better
Stu.
informed than me.
you can.
Okay. Okay, no, thank you, really appreciate it.
Any further items on health and safety? Andrew?
Just a new subject. Tracy, you mentioned a walk around. When we first came into this building, we had a walk around and we pointed out in the handicapped bathroom, there's no alarm. And the other day I looked in there, still no alarm. We've been told twice there's going to be an alarm in there. Would someone be able to just follow that up, please?
Yeah, through you, Mr. Chair, just so I'm aware, this is the disabled facility on this floor.
Correct.
Noted as an action point. No other comment? Anyone online that would like to make comment there? Health and safety report be received.
Happy to second the motion.
Moved by Councillor Mahuta, second by Councillor Quayle. All those in favour, please say aye. Those against, carried. And the next item of the agenda is that of governance meeting minutes. And we have Neil sitting in the chair, page 128, open agenda.
Good afternoon, councillors. Take the report as read. Now, this is a change, obviously, from current practice and one that's been enforced in the council for a long time. It responds to a number of things. One, staff's desire to improve the process, and that came through the suggestion process around the Bureaucracy Busters campaign that was run, which aligns with the Corporate Plan Innovation program of work as well. So staff had identified the opportunity, which is well documented in the report, with a couple of key drivers influencing it. One is the advent of technology that we didn't have in the prior times when we were doing manual record keeping. I've also, as you can see in the table and in the report itself, identified where the recommended process is actually applied in other jurisdictions or other councils across the country. So we would not be the first to adopt this process if we chose to do it. They recognise as well in the report that it helps to eliminate a number of issues. One is the time and labour spent on compiling the minutes after every meeting, where a facility exists to record them audio-visually. They also note that it removes the potential for reporter bias, so you have more independence. And what is recorded at the end of the day is the resolutions and facts that pass on to the next meeting. And any party can look at those audio-visual records and ascertain the background to the topics and the decisions being made. So I guess it's a broad context of why this recommendation is being proposed. It is actually seen as an efficiency gain. It's seen as an improvement in terms of quality, and it is in line with other jurisdictions mentioned before. But it is in council's hands to determine whether or not you wish to adopt the recommendation for you.
Councillor Kneebone?
Thanks, Mr. Chairman. Look, I think this is a really good idea, and it's a logical thing to do given the reasons that have been outlined. So I'd like to move 1 and 2, please.
Yes, Councillor Nebo moves. Seconded by Councillor Strange. Further comment? Anyone offline would like to comment? Hi, Andrew. You've got the
Yes,
floor.
yes, please.
Barry first and then Andrew.
Yeah, thank you. I just want to challenge us a bit here before we move on this. I'm all for transparent democracy. So I've got a question and then a comment. First, my question is, if you are searching through the audio-visual record, can you progress through that easily if you are looking at that, or do you have to watch the whole thing, and where do you have marker points on the audio-visual record so that you don't have to troll through 2 hours of meetings to get to the point you're interested in? So I think that's quite important. So that's my question, but I have a comment, and that is that when there is a division or there's the question of things like rates increases and so on, I think in those circumstances I have a view that there has to be transparent democracy in terms of what council, how council is reaching the decision. So while in general I favour the motion, I do think that when you come down to either a division or particular critical aspects around, and there might be others, I think that the minutes should reflect some comment in those circumstances, but I welcome other members' comments, councillors' comments, please. So I have a question and then a second comment.
The challenge is put out from Barry. Did you want to respond?
Yeah, no, I'm pretty keen on seeing some efficiency. I'm assuming that won't result, takes 2 to 12 hour spread down to a 1 hour spread across all the meetings. I'm wondering that if that has an FTE impost. So how are you going to manifest those savings? Because it's easy to say we're going to be more efficient. We might be more efficient. I'm not convinced we'll be more effective. And I'll give you an example. Today, I was interested in, I'd lost sight of what at your meeting, and it was interesting to read nuance around Councillor Person. And I got a lot from just those bullet points in the minutes. So those minutes today were very, very useful. Under this motion, that utility will be gone. So if we want to find out more, we've now got to go scrolling through a lot of electronic records. So your efficiency gains are not necessarily going to be our efficiency. That's my concern. I think minutes are pretty good at the moment because you get a sense of the nuance around the conversations. Whereas we agree with this, we're signing up for, if we want that nuance, we've got to go and listen to a whole bunch of tape recordings that are probably reasonably.
Okay, we've got 5 councillors that have comment and questions, but Neville, would you like to respond perhaps to Barry's one first, because that may answer some of the questions that may be raised by the 5 speakers that we're about to hear.
Thank you. So I'll answer the second question first, which is in regard to the division matter. You see in section 16 of the report, it outlines the requirements under clause 28 of schedule 7 of the LGA for what must be maintained by way of record. And you will see that under bullet point I, all divisions taken have taken a record of each member's vote is one of the matters that must be recorded in the physical minutes.
Yes. But the comment leading up to that, Chair.
That lead, and I understand the debate. And And I think there was similarities between your other question and Councillor McPherson's question in regard to navigability of the audio-visual record. And so my understanding is, and I'll ask Sarah to confirm this as the author of the report, that we are able to tag the salient points within the record to be able to quickly traverse to them. So how that's indexed, I'm uncertain, but I would imagine it's based on the points at which a resolution or deliberation is made, and that you would navigate to that point if you're wanting to dive in to the context behind that resolution or that minute. I'd need to check with Sarah, if you don't mind, and just confirm that. But I do think that's a pretty important matter that council have requested an understanding of.
CEO, would you like to also put a comment in?
Oh, sorry. Sorry, if I can just further to add what Director Williams has said. You will see on the existing minutes of the council meeting on the 9th of February in your agenda, staff have already been trialling that. So just randomly, if you went to page 12, you would see recording 3 at 1.18 minutes. So the markers are already there in the minutes. Should you want to navigate through them, they're already there. They're very handy. I note that they were put at the start of each discussion topic so that you would be able to scroll very easily through the agenda items.
That's right, I haven't got any more to add, that's correct.
Councillors in speaking order is Angela, Jennifer, Dennis, and last but not least, Pamela. Angela?
Thank you,
Councillor Strange, sorry.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, I am happy to second the motion. I've spoken to democracy staff who, tell me about the efficiencies and the time and the way that they would manage it. And also note, Tracy, that I picked up on that it's already in use in full council. My one question would be around, one of the reasons given was that it reduces the amount of hearsay. But to Andrew's point as well, when the chairs give their report, we haven't got the additional information in what the chair chooses to report on, unless you've actually been at the meeting, is the version that you get. So then it comes down to us doing our due diligence before the meeting to make sure that, things in the one-pager maybe do line up with what's as well. So I can see the efficiencies for staff, but I do like the idea that you can specifically go to a point in the meeting just to give yourself that comfort as well, which I have done on previous occasions, to look at one item in a certain meeting. So I mean, if you do your due diligence, then you're fine, but on the fly, it would be a bit more.
Thanks, Councillor. Councillor Teague?
Thanks, Chair. I support the motion. I think it's more efficient. I'm not too concerned about the efficiency as a councillor, and I say that because I've had some experience in going into the occasional Teams Coromandel recording of meetings where the items are, timed, and you can go straight to the time and see what you want to see. So I think that's that's quite an efficient process. To Barry's point, I think so long as the nature of any division taken is recorded, I'm not too concerned about the commentary around that. So I think if that's a mandatory requirement that the divisions are taken and recorded, I'm happy with that. Thank you.
Councillor Story, thanks, Dennis. Councillor Story, you've been patient.
Jennifer, for me, that was the order you read before, but happy to go.
Happy to go, and then I'll come back to Councillor Nicol.
I'm all for efficiency. I hear what you're saying. Councillor McPherson about what it might, what those savings might result in, I would argue that we're probably going to need to spend that on the sound system that continues to be a challenge in this chamber. I suppose, you know, what was occurring to me is a bit of what Councillor Strange was raising, where unless you've attended the meeting, you may not know if there were some issues of controversy. And while there's an onus to do due diligence, the reason that we all get divided up against across multiple committees is there are so many. If we had to sit through and read, if there was no note in the minute that there was some controversy around an issue, and whatever counselors attended it didn't raise it with you, you wouldn't know to go and listen unless you're going to listen to every single recording of every single committee, and I don't think that that's not easy to do. So I suppose I'm in support of the efficiency, particularly with the time stamping, as was noted in our minutes in this agenda pack. I'd like to understand if there is still an opportunity for a counselor to say that they would like a particular view recorded or a particular discussion point recorded during the process.
Hey, Councillor, Acting CEO, what is your response to that? So it might be, you know, the instance, we might say, yep, we want to have this, we felt very strongly about it, we want it recorded. Is that still possible?
The discretion to make a recording in the minutes, as Sarah has helpfully noted in the chat for us, the chair can request that a particular note is made. The only advice I would give is to be mindful that we wouldn't want a chair making a particular note of everything made on every discussion topic, otherwise that would be cumbersome as well. But there could be an opportunity to notice, Councillor Story has said, and these were the 3 key matters at contention, nothing more than bullet points, if the chair felt it was necessary. If a councillor wanted something specifically stated, the same discretion applies. I understand. Sarah's nodding.
Sorry, so if a individual councillor, not the chair of whatever committee it is, if an individual member of that committee wanted something only recorded, they can make that request? Is that what I just understood?
Make that request of the chair.
Right, but the chair could rule against that if they want. Okay.
Councillor Nicol, I'm sorry, the order, I just slipped that one there. You're also always polite. You've got the floor, Jennifer.
Thank you, no trouble. Really supportive of this motion. I think it saves time, especially for the staff, but also for councillors. I have taken it, I've tried my absolute best to read through as many minutes in my time, and when I really think about it, I don't think it's time that well spent, because I spend a lot of my time talking to other councillors who were at the meeting, not necessarily always the chair, but and get across matters that way. And I think what's key though is that not just for ourselves to be able to have the timestamp here in the Microsoft Teams piece, but also for the public to who go on YouTube, to make it easy for them. So I would expect that for those people who watched the Dame Anne YouTube video for our training, you would have seen that there are timestamps in the actual YouTube clip that you can see how long each section is, and often what the habit is for the comments in the caption underneath the video to also say at what point in time a certain item might have come up. So I think that makes it really easy for anyone in the public to see as well. And lastly, there is a topic that I just want to note for staff that I would really like to see in the future to be pursued, and that is for the PowerPoint presentations that come to the committee meetings or the council to be available in some shape or form, either I mean, ideally with the agenda when it's published a few days before, but since I know that we often finish things right before the day, or it needs to be most up to date, then with the minutes afterwards, because I think that would be really helpful for helping to engage our community more who really, the agendas are a lot easier to read than the meeting minutes, put it that way, but a visual like the PowerPoints is even better. So yeah, very supportive.
Thanks, Jennifer. Stu?
I just want to wrap up if we're ready to finish. Yeah, as mover.
Yeah, you're the mover, but you ready to wrap up now?
Yeah,
I'd like to make a comment before you do.
Yeah.
I support it too. That the years gone by, and it depends on the nature of the council and the chair at the time. I've had the misfortune to listen to councillors loving the sound of their own voice. None of them here, of course, but they just go on of checking the kind of the grammar, and it just is so laborious, and it doesn't make for the efficient running of a very important organisation. But I think this council, particularly when it's they ask the questions, perhaps not been to that standing committee, they're on that standing committee and they have every right to ask every question, but it doesn't get down to the kind of the detail of whether it is, say, punctuation and so forth. But if we're going to further make it more efficient, I totally support it. Over to you, Stu.
Yeah, thanks. Look, I just want to say, I think this proposal is actually fairer than it was before, because in my time off council, I've seen a lot of situations where individuals with particular issues they're concerned about lobby quite hard to have their comments included in the minutes, and they often proportionally have more of their issues recorded in the minutes than anyone else's, just because people just simply want to move on and get the damn meeting out of the way, you know. So whereas this way, it's completely fair. Someone can go back and listen to everything they want if they want to. And the other point I'd make is that I suspect, and I'm choosing my words very carefully, I suspect that if anyone here claimed that they read all the minutes of today's meeting verbatim from top to bottom, I'd probably tell them porkers, eh? So, but there's an enormous amount of work there by staff to do all that stuff, you know, whereas this way, if you really want to get the intimate details of every single thing that was said, then hey, go knock yourself out with a report. Thanks, Mr. Chair.
Yeah, just probably on the cynical side of me just says, oh, look, I want to hear the minutes precisely of that standing committee or full council, you know, 6 months or a year ago, and just strangely, you know, they've been deleted or can't be found. That would be annoying. Because this is perhaps I want to be assured that we're going to actually, they will be available now and in the future. I'm happy to now formally put that to council for endorsement and adoption. All those in favour, please say aye. Those against, carried. Yeah, still on the, I think we just go into the closed session now. What do you think, today? We're pretty well done and dusted. Moved by Councillor Kneebone, seconded by Councillor Hodge, that we're going to confidential for the reasons that are on the screen in front of you. Happy with that? Do you want me to read it out? No. Right. I formally put that.